Hello teacups, what's brewing? So we are in unfortunately familiar territory here at the Teapot with Chantal's new video, my issues with my weight loss journey on YouTube. She did put a community post up, and if I've got it somewhere I'll clip it, I'll put it in here, saying that she was taking her journey off of YouTube again. This is not particularly a surprise. It does make me wonder what happened at the doctor's. I don't know how long it takes her to get her test results, but I know that she was due to get some tests done today. Yeah, I mean, it's not a surprise. We'll get into the video. Obviously, I got some things to say, but she seemed like she was getting pretty triggered by some of the comments she was getting on her last video. People were coming in and saying, well, I have the same coverage, I live in the same area, you can get inpatient treatment here, you need to call these people, and they were giving names, and she was getting very frustrated because she was saying, well, that's not the case, and I can't do that, and I can't afford that, and I don't, things. And she was having trouble letting that go. So I don't know if this is in response to some bigger news. I don't know if it's just in response to that. Frankly, she's shown behaviors like this when she starts turning off the comments and not reacting, turning off the comments and then refusing to show things on the internet before. It's never been maintained before. I don't think she's going to stay off for very long now, but she did have a period for a while where she was turning off the comments what felt like every other second. So I'm confident she'll be back to showing everything on YouTube pretty soon, but let's get into the video. I do have this video sped up to just 1.2, just to give it a little bit more, but hopefully not too problematic when it comes to understanding. So she's got no intro, but we're starting with a clip from Obese to Beast, speaking on Amberlynn Reid.
I can say that it would be really nerve-wracking because, you know, coming from someone that's lost 180 pounds, if I were to film myself every single time I had tried to lose weight before this time, I would probably be having people say the same thing to me. Like, you don't actually want to lose weight, you don't care.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So the intro clips are from Obese to Beast. He has a very large weight loss and fitness channel. If you are not familiar with him, please check him out. I was using his videos not so much to affirm what I'm about to talk about, but more to say what I want to say. He had a really good way of putting what was on my mind for the subject that I'm going to talk about. So I wanted to use those clips to kind of give you another perspective.
I decided when editing to only use the one clip. Okay, fair enough.
Of how I'm feeling. So I'm just going to get my message out in this one video instead of constantly...
Quick question, when you complain about us using your videos, did you ask him to use his video?
Bombarding my community post section with these passive-aggressive posts when I'm just going to do one video, state what I want to say, my opinions and thoughts on the subject matter, and then move on from it.
I mean, fair enough. It does seem a more logical and calm way to do it, which is nice. I don't think she's going to be able to stay away from the community post. I mean, it's nice she recognises that it's not a good look for her and it doesn't tend to work out for her, but she does struggle to stay away from it.
I'm not going back to mukbangs. I'm not going back to unhealthy mukbangs.
Oh, well, that's quite the qualifier, isn't it? I'm not going back to unhealthy. She's not precluding the possibility of mukbangs, but it will be healthy mukbangs. Yeah, we'll see.
And if you look at the history of my channel,
I should say, I don't want her to go back to mukbangs, you guys. It's a terrible, terrible idea. But I am naturally doubtful of a lot of things she says just because of my history with the channel.
It's been a complete mess, and that's my own fault because I started as doing mukbangs, and then I would, you know, do weight loss content, back to mukbangs. I would get fed up. There's a continual pattern of getting overwhelmed with doing a weight loss journey on YouTube. Now there's two kinds of weight loss journeys, okay? There's...
She's teaching us, hang on. I'll save my questions till after.
Pre-weight loss journeys, which are pre-weight loss. Yeah. Then there's post-weight loss journeys, which is what Obese to Beast is. And
no. Okay, guys, there's pre-weight loss and there's post-weight loss. Can anybody in the comments, can anyone in the class, my little teacups, tell me what big old section she's missing in the middle? Why, it's the losing of the weight. It's not pre and post. There's weight loss that goes in the middle of there. This is the beginning where you're deciding, okay, I need to do this. There's the end where you're successful, hopefully. This is so indicative of the way she thinks. There's, I want to lose weight, and there's skinny legend. But the actual doing of the thing, she's not even acknowledging it as a category. There's no switch you switch on. There's no pill you take. There's no juice you drink that takes you from A to Z. There is a whole alphabet in the middle where you have to do the work. And seriously, in this video of all videos, you're sitting there going, well, there's 2 types of weight loss. There's not started yet and there's done. Absolutely not. What are you thinking?
he's reached his goal. He's now...
And how did he do that? You think he woke up one morning and said, okay, no, I need to lose the weight, and woke up the next morning 180 pounds down? Seriously?
Working on educating people on maintaining that weight loss. He's helping share his journey because
Which is great.
He is the inspiration. He's made it to the finish line. He's put in the hard work. He knows what to do. He's done it. Okay? Mm-hmm. And he's found something that works for him. Definitely.
Great. What's your point?
Weight loss journeys are very personal.
Yes.
There's 1,000,001 ways to achieve weight loss.
True.
And there's different forms of obesity. So there's eating disorder, there's food addiction, there's all kinds of different things.
Oh yeah, there's a range of reasons that lead to people being obese. I'm with her on that.
And it affects everyone differently.
Yeah.
And how they deal with it is going to be different for everyone. And what really...
how they deal with it, I mean, there's certain realizations that have to be made, but the things you need to deal with are going to be different for everyone for sure. But ultimately, it's, if I'm going to massively oversimplify people who are struggling with a relationship with food, it's finding it's finding better mechanisms to deal with whatever the problem is than food. Yeah, so ultimately what you need to do mentally and what you need to do physically, which is reduce your calorie intake and be consistent, then that's actually going to be very similar for everybody. But the reasons they do it, how hard it is to do, how they approach it, what it is that's causing them to have that maladaptive response to food, like that's going to be completely different and personal.
I liked what he really talked about, that really hit home for me as you saw in the clips, is he's reached the end goal and started doing his videos. Now he's had many failures along the way, so I think he understands, you know, people like Amberlynn and I who are on these journeys, he understands the failures, and you know, if his comment section or his reception might be very different if he was doing his journey from the beginning.
It might be, but then, and this is partially a problem because of her mixed audience, because of the fact she does things so obviously completely against the goal she has to lose weight. And so her mixed audience does make this a lot more difficult for sure. But anybody in the weight loss sphere, anyone who's had a weight loss journey on YouTube, or off YouTube even, is going to understand when someone is dedicating a channel to weight loss, to the process of actually losing weight, the missing step 2 in this particular two-party system she's got going, then they're going to understand that there's times when you have setbacks, there's times when you find it incredibly difficult. And I don't know Obese to Beast's channel enough to say, did he ever show part of his weight loss, or did he just come into YouTube having already finished? I'm not sure how far back his videos go in that, or if he did show any of his journey. But weight loss is it's never a completely linear process. You don't make the decision and 100,000% stick to it every moment of every day. There are going to be slip-ups, definitely. It doesn't mean you're going to get a ton of hate for it. Most people who have been through that as a process will understand the reasons you're struggling and will support you in the reasons you're struggling. And it's occasionally tough love, but it is ultimately quite a supportive community, even if you don't always agree in terms of how you're doing it. Now, that's not the community you have in your particular channel, and you know yourself why that is.
Now, I'm not saying it would be completely negative, but he has a point. So I fall into the pre-weight loss category.
Yes, you do.
And where I'm still coming to terms with my issues, I'm still trying to find something that works for me.
That's not necessarily purely pre-weight loss. That would be in your missing next stage. You can experiment with things and see if it helps you to make progress, see if it triggers you to do behaviors that you're not, you recognize as not being conducive to reaching your goals. That experimentation can be part of weight loss, and still is for me. I did low carb for a long time. I tried keto. It didn't settle well in my stomach. The increased fat just didn't sit well. I didn't feel good on keto. But doing lower carb, definitely I felt good. But in my most recent attempt, because I'm trying to lose weight right now, I got up to a bit of a high with the regaining COVID. I gained over 10 pounds during the quarantine. And now I'm trying to get back down to where I was before lockdown. And then I want to lose probably another 15, 20 pounds after that. So I'm still working with that. But at the moment, my plan isn't low carb. I eat oats for breakfast. I've increased my milk consumption. Like, sometimes you do have to tweak, and that's fine. But the general action of I am making a legitimate, thought out attempt at doing this and my actions show it, that can be consistent.
I'm still seeking out help. I'm still a lot of trial and error, a lot of failure, a lot of lack of motivation,
can be part of progress.
Denial. And
it's not progress with her, but it can be part of progress.
Somebody who's doing a journey who's post weight loss is obviously going to have a better reception on that. And that's one of the things I noticed with the difference between the two types of weight loss channels is that whenever you're struggling, you feel like you're letting people down, and it can cause you to want to evade the problem and just get...
I think that's absolutely true as well, but then that's accountability. And avoiding accountability when you're not doing well, it is natural because you asked for accountability. In posting your weight loss into a public forum, you put yourself in a position to expect accountability, whether you physically say you want it or not. Now, I would say that she said multiple times with her weight loss journey that she's putting things up for accountability. I'll see if in editing I go back and get a clip from her video. I'm not sure which video it was. I might not want to do the deep dive, to be honest, but she has on multiple occasions been like, okay, well, I'll still post here for accountability, but she doesn't want that accountability. She's saying that accountability wrecks her. And you're like, but even if you don't get it from us, you need to be accountable to yourself then, but you don't have huge success with that, which is why you brought it on YouTube to begin with, for motivation. Now, don't get me wrong, you guys. I've had a weight loss channel for a long time. I've had a weight loss channel for 4 years. I started it the day I had my surgery. And I've had long periods of time where I know I've been gaining, and I've just put out vlogs. I've just put out other things until I've been ready to step on the scale and admit where I am and admit what I'm doing. And sometimes that does take time, but again, it's all part of losing the weight. The progress won't always be linear. And even very recently with my regain during quarantine, it's not a mystery. I was baking a lot of brownies and I got fatter. But I still, within the last month, go through that. So it's not that you can't do that. Your actions are what make your channel so negative.
Give up with the journey, because if you say you're going to lose 30 pounds or 15 pounds, like Obese to Be said, and then you don't, you're going to let a lot of people down. So you're going to want to be dishonest about it, or you're...
No, or the point of it is not to be like, oh, I didn't do it, let's be dishonest. I mean, of course you don't want to admit when you haven't done it. But the point is then to say, okay, so I've said I want to lose 10 pounds, and I've said that to an audience, I should probably work on doing that. And then you can come back and say, I've done X, Y, Z, maybe you haven't quite made it to the 10 pounds. But the point of a channel is to motivate you to realize, hey, I am doing this publicly, and so I should probably do it.
I'm going to want to evade the problem. So my problem with the weight loss journeys that I've started to share with you guys, and my frustrations,
fact that you haven't done them,
and why I find it overwhelming, is that I find it very overwhelming sharing something that I'm very vulnerable about. I have issue with people being so negative towards my weight struggles, or pointing out, there's a lot of hate watching, basically. It's the majority
there definitely
for everyone is hate watching. The majority, a lot of it for me is hate watching. I do have...
I mean, there's a difference there. There's hate watching, which absolutely exists in relation to her channel, and a lot of it is hate watching to me, which is not necessarily the same thing, because something we have said is that Chantal is incredibly thin-skinned and cannot take, she says she can take constructive criticism, but she can only take the very mildest forms of, why don't you try using X? And even then, when she's really in her feelings about it, she can't take that. So she claims she wants these things and then gets angry when she gets them. But that being said, there are a big contingency of hate watchers. There is a big contingency, I should say. And so some of the things she will get is negative. Wow, I am not doing well with my verbs today, guys. Or English. Move on. So there is an element, knowing what her channel is like. The only way to change her channel for the better is consistently be better with that. So the things they're criticizing aren't there to criticize. Because let's take your last video, the one I didn't react to when she went to the berry farm. She came in saying, okay, I had a binge last night. That doesn't surprise me. Emotionally, she seemed in a place where she was working up towards it. That salad disagreed with her. She couldn't do anything. Oh, let's throw the baby out with the bathwater. And she binged. Doesn't surprise me at all. It seemed very much where she was heading. And she was like, I'm not going to binge today. And she didn't, that we saw on camera, but also she didn't make choices that were going to set her up for health. As she was telling us this, she was going to the Starbucks drive-thru. Now, can you get healthier versions of Starbucks? 100% yes, you can. Did she? No. She was like, I want chocolate. And there's such a big disconnect in her head between what she's saying and what she's doing, that she gets angry because she's saying the right things, but she's get criticized for what she's doing. So she's gone in and had full sugar syrup because they're saying she had a mocha or something, because she was saying they didn't have sugar-free. Someone commented, again, this is the nitpicking that I understand why she gets angry about. They're like, all Starbucks have sugar-free. Actually, in the country I'm in, no Starbucks has sugar-free. And I do believe in China they didn't have it as well, though I can't remember off the top of my head there, I'd have to check. I feel like I was frustrated by that in China. Some places don't. Canada do, but it's a Starbucks. They might have run out that day of sugar-free chocolate syrup. You know, it's within the realm of possibility. So that is just nitpicking. What was the point I was making? Oh, but when your actions don't reflect what you're saying, you're going to get criticism. And I'm of two minds in this video, because on one hand, she's saying, well, I want to take it off YouTube. And I've thought, and I think said this before, where I do think ultimately that's healthier for her. But in listening to her in the way she talks, I don't think getting it off YouTube is gonna make her make healthier choices. She just doesn't think about it in that way, I don't think. I don't think any evidence she's given us in the last few weeks, aside from, I see very clearly the fear of the diagnosis that she's waiting for. But other than the fear, other than her physical health becoming more present as an immediate concern, I don't see a change in vocabulary that makes me think that she is actually going to make those changes off camera. And that's really sad, because I really do want her to make those changes off camera. You know, I see her being a little more realistic in facing the fact that she has physical problems she can't ignore, but not in the action she takes to address it. I mean, she then went on to have strawberry pie and dared to sit there and be like, oh, I'm beezing, while having a subtitle saying like, oh, the passenger belt didn't fit. And I'm sure you could accuse me for shaming her because I'm saying she said the passenger belt didn't fit. But then maybe don't eat the pie. Yeah, it's not gonna help you, it's gonna spike your blood sugar. And when you have these problems in your life and you take a moment to point it out, don't be amazed or cry shame when people comment on it, because what you're doing doesn't help you to change it.
A very strong fan base, and I love you guys, but in general, for people like myself and Everlyn struggling with weight, there's a lot of hate watching, and hate watching basically people wanting to see us fail.
That is true.
And
she has a lot of it.
I know that if we did get our shit together and lose the weight and everything, I think we would have a really big following and support system. But
yes, but again, you're still thinking this 2 times, pre and post. You wouldn't have to wait to post weight loss. You just have to show you're making some kind of progress. In recent videos, because she's restarted a few times now, in recent videos, you said, well, I've had so much support on this. So you get support very quickly when you actually show that you're trying. So what makes you think you'd have to wait till you were 250 pounds down? As long as you're giving consistent content of you trying, and trying in a logical way, not in a for effort, but I'm going to eat this pie and drink this chocolate syrup kind of a way, then you will get that support.
What people don't realize is that negativity in the in-between and the shame is what deters me from wanting to share, because and that's why I used Obese to Beast, because he understands that. He knows, you know.
I understand it too, but
as somebody who has an eating disorder, shame is a big part of that. You know, whenever I do have a binge, which I don't do on camera, I like to do that. That's just something shameful I do alone.
Hang on.
And that's why, you know, I would hide the pizza boxes. I would hide the McDonald's wrapper.
I mean, there is an element of shame in all binging. Yeah, because you realize what you're doing, you're trying to hide it. But that doesn't make sense then, because if she's saying, well, we judge her on her binging, essentially, then, but she's simultaneously saying, but she doesn't show her binging on camera. So either what you do on camera is binging, and I've said before, I think I have seen in her a lot of hallmarks of binging behavior, and anytime she is eating, even when she's legitimizing it as a mukbang or a food review, she's there with her shifty eyes checking no one's watching. She's driving to the furthest corner because she doesn't want people to see her. Whether you label that shame or not, it is shame. You are ashamed of your actions and you don't want them to be seen. But this doesn't make sense. This saying, well, I don't binge on camera, but you shame me for binging on camera, but I don't show my binges. Then what are we judging? What is it we're shaming you for if you don't show it on camera?
Like, just from as long as I can remember hiding food, and that's one symptom, is the hiding of the food and feeling the shame. And whenever you have people, you know, if you have a binge and you have people, you just have to see these comments every day with people saying, she binged again, here we go, here's the cycle. You just have all these people kind of trivializing a problem that you really, it's a demon that you really are struggling with, even if people don't feel like it.
I can believe that. I can believe that seeing those comments again is not helpful. I can believe that being shamed for her binge. And there are comments that are just pure shaming. I don't think some of them that she's labeling as shaming are. But there are people who just come and call her names and laugh at her struggles. And I think some of them are nonsensical, but I don't necessarily think they're laughable. You know, I don't think this is a funny situation. She's occasionally funny with it, but I don't think really overall this is a funny situation. I think it's a very dangerous one. But I understand that what she sees again is going to have a toll, which is why I've always said you have to have a thicker skin on YouTube. You have to. And the thing is, the way I see comments, I'm like, when it's obviously a troll, when I get a comment saying, fuck you for doing this, I'm like, okay, rando, and leave it. Because when it's obviously stupid, you can just ignore it. You really can. And if it's something that you read and you're like, oh, actually, I think there's been a misunderstanding here and I want to address it, you can choose to answer. But mostly, especially with the kind of audience she has, I've said before she would benefit from having that switch in her that just says, time to turn this off, time not to check these. And that's why, like when she says I've turned off the comments, I understand why. I think ultimately it's healthy with her, it's healthier for her, but I don't think it will last, and I don't think it will help her channel because she's more reliant on that. There's a whole element of her being on YouTube and it being her source of income that also has to be considered here.
Looks that way to them. You know, I've had people criticize if I'm actually depressed, and this and that, and I know like it's the internet and people are going.
And also, I thought you said you weren't going to listen to them anymore. Like you go, well, it doesn't matter. This says more about them than it does about me. You don't matter. You're invisible to me. I'm told like that was specifically for Charlie Gold, but in general, she's had these rants and then come back and been like, I see, I need to ignore these people. And didn't she, like last time she was saying no more weight loss on my channel. In her community tab, I'll see if I've still got it, but she was like, I promise, capital letters, I will never talk about my weight again. And then 2 days later showed herself with a scale. Yeah, I'm just like, oh.
To be negative and comment no matter what, but I find that there's just a very saturated amount of that negativity when it comes to weight loss journeys with certain people.
You've kind of earned it, but yes, there is
this platform. And I really find that to be a form of fat shaming and discrimination. It's a form of shaming, and you're shaming a...
When people come in and call you names, it is a form of shaming. When people come in and say, hey, you said you were going to do X and you're doing Y and that doesn't seem to be helping you, that's not a form of shaming.
Person who's fat, and you're shaming them for not being able to bend over and put socks on, or you're shaming them for not being able to walk 2 blocks, or you're shaming them for being 400 pounds, 500 pounds, and that is fat shaming, and it's very prevalent, and it just really is frustrating, and it's negativity, extra negativity that is really hard to deal with.
I think that's unfair. Like I think her saying like what she considers fat shaming and what she doesn't, she does genuinely get fat shaming remarks, but it's going to be difficult to deal with, especially with as thin a skin as she has. I'm sure it's hard for her. So I want to give her credit for that right now. I sometimes think what she thinks is misguided, but I believe the emotion she has around this now, even if I think sometimes she's her own worst enemy, you know?
Another thing is the pressure.
Accountability.
We have a larger following of people. Like I follow some weight loss channels that don't have a very large following, and their comment section, for example, is always very positive. And side note, I put so much emphasis on the comment section because this is a social media platform. Yeah. And there's supposed to be some sort of social interaction with your viewers. I mean, they're taking the time to follow you, and
this is one of the reasons that people have problems with you moderating the comments the way you do. Like you ask, why do people go to forums? Why do people go to reaction channels? Why do people talk about you? You don't allow that conversation. You don't allow the social aspect of your media. And it's a big part of this platform. And I realize it's the part you're least equipped to deal with, but it's the biggest part of your platform. She said something else that I wanted to address and I can't remember what it was.
I'm talking about...
Oh, sorry. The smaller weight loss channels. Yeah, because mostly, as much as people have back and forth, it's not usually as pronounced as yours. So people with strictly weight loss channels have had consistent content for quite a while, or they might have multiple strands of their content, but there's a consistency to them, which lends itself to support. If you're saying there are lots of weight loss channels out there that have support and I don't, maybe look at your own actions, because clearly there is a difference between your channel and their channel that is causing a difference in attitudes.
My fans, my followers who just, you know, love my content. I'm not talking about like haters and trolls. I'm talking about, you know, you're supposed to interact with them, like their comments, acknowledge what they're saying.
Yes,
you know, that's what it's for. It's not just you talking at people. When you gain this mass of people who are supporting you and they look up to you and they have the same problems as you, they start to see themselves in you, and they expect things from you.
Yes. Again, you come in, you say, I want to lose weight, it's killing me not to lose weight, and guys, I want accountability. They're going to expect things from you. And even if you don't say that, if you just come on and say, okay, today I'm going to try and do this, and then you don't do that, and you keep coming on and saying, today I want to do this, and you don't do that, and then you start ranting at your viewers when they dare to question, hey, what's going on? Why aren't you doing that? Yeah, you're going to feel some pressure because you're not doing what you said you're going to do.
On this journey, and sometimes people expect too much, you know.
No, or, you know, expect me to do what I said I was going to do, because you put your own expectations in place and then you don't live up to them. So what we expect is what you have taught us to expect.
It gets very tiring.
I bet.
You have a meal, for example, and you have to justify every single thing you eat, because no matter what it is, somebody's going to pick that apart. Like, oh my God, that has so many carbs, it has so much sugar.
Yeah, as a 400-pound potentially diabetic on YouTube eating a lot of carbs and sugar, people are going to comment on that, absolutely.
You know, I remember one comment one time, somebody said, your breakfast is like 400 calories.
Yeah, actually, I have watched this before, by the way, I kind of know where it's going. 400 calories at her size, let her have 400 calories. As long as they're foods that are going to serve her and nourish her, like 400 calories at her size is nothing. At me, that is a full out meal, because I eat 4 meals a day and I try and get between 12 and 1300 calories. So me having a 400 calorie breakfast would mean I'd have to change my choices for the rest of the day. She's not in that place right now. So the problem, the breakfast she's talking about, I think was the bagel and orange juice. Like, the issue with that was the massive amount of juice and it just being essentially bread. That was the major comment most people had, it not being good for her in that way. But 400 calories, that was the least of her worries.
You know what? A 500 calorie meal wouldn't even be too bad. You know, yeah, it's just somebody will always have something to say about what you're eating. And eventually you start to like wonder, like, okay, am I really, you know, are they just going to forever pick on every single thing that I do?
Some people, yeah.
And I think, sadly for me, I think the answer is yes.
I mean, you did kind of paint the target on your back, but yeah. And even if it's not forever, I think if you did show genuine progress, those voices would become quieter because they would have less to pick at. But yeah, to an extent, at the very least, for the years, and it would be years, you would have to spend losing 250 pounds.
That was always my problem with the reaction channel culture, is that you're perpetuating that, just people being petty and picking on the little things over and over and over, and just completely forgetting to see me as a person with...
I'm not gonna lie, guys, there's times when I've been very petty, just in the sense of, what is that, and why is she doing that, and what is she eating, and why hasn't she changed it to this? That's all part of my opinion, and so when I look at it, I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me, I'm gonna say it. But I don't think I ever forget that she's a person and that she's struggling. Yeah, I think I've got enough of a balance on this channel that I'm capable of doing both.
Feelings, who is really struggling, despite going back to mukbangs, no matter what I would do in my videos. I mean, I'm still a person with issues, struggling just like you are. So I never really liked that part of that type of culture on here, and
it's fair that she doesn't like reaction channels. Like I said, I try and keep my comments fair, but it's completely fair that she doesn't like people taking her videos and giving their opinion on them. And she's just turned off the comment. She heavily moderated her comments before this. I do think it's because she's not in control of it. She also gets, one of the reasons she hates Charlie Gold so much is she got extremely jealous of their subscriber count, like reaction channels in general, but also Charlie Gold particularly. She got very jealous of the subscriber count that she had versus hers. The moment a channel gets bigger than her,
there's so many things that are so negative about it, especially doing it a weight loss journey, like I said before, you have any success. A lot of people think it helps hold you accountable But like I said, when you have an eating disorder that's based on shame for yourself, having more negativity and more shame in your face every single day starts to take a really big toll on your
You can have, I have had a weight loss channel for 4 years, and I've had some bad times with my weight in those 4 years, even post-surgery. I think the issue here is just, and again, because mental health is a personal thing, the issue here is that Chantal is not ready to deal with it. And it might be, even if she didn't have these weight problems and very toxic parts of her community, she just might not be able to. She might be too thin-skinned for this, genuinely. But that's not a problem of putting weight on YouTube. It's a problem of you specifically dealing with this.
Mental health. And that's why I question over and over and over if it's the right thing for me to do health-wise.
But you still do it.
That doesn't mean people, for some reason, a lot of the time can't differentiate the difference between...
Can't differentiate the difference.
Doing weight loss journey on camera and continuing to work on yourself on camera. I can understand...
Off camera. She meant off camera there, it's fine. We all misspeak. Yeah, the reason we have that problem with you specifically is you continually flip-flop on whether you think weight should be on camera or shouldn't be. I mean, you did this a couple of weeks ago, even, when you were swearing to us you wouldn't do it. And when you say you're doing it offline, you never are. You never ever are. And it's the shame. You're just giving yourself the ability to hide again. And that's the binge shame cycle. I'm not blaming you for the instinct to do it, but I'm saying they can't differentiate between you doing it on camera and you doing it off camera, because you never do it off camera. When you go off camera, it's an excuse to go back to your binge.
The confusion between, whenever I say, okay, I'm going to drop my weight loss journey, and then I go back to unhealthy mukbangs. I understand that.
You do.
I completely understand how crazy it is to just 1 minute cry about your health issues and the dangers of obesity and be on a complete weight loss channel, and then all of a sudden you have these people supporting you for weight loss journey, and you go and eat 5,000 calories in a mukbang or something like that. So I understand that, and that's just not going to happen anymore for me. It's been a while since I've done fast food mukbangs,
but not a while since she's eaten fast food. She's admitted that she's been binging. So again, how useful is it? You may not be legitimizing it on camera by calling it a mukbang, and that is a step in a positive direction. But if you're still eating it, are you doing yourself any good?
I do obviously still struggle on the daily with making the right food choices.
Yes,
but it is something that I'm going to continue to fight and work on. And I don't want to go around in circles. It's not something I want to do.
No, and I'm sure she doesn't. It's a horrible place to be in. And like I said, even recently, I've been sitting here and knowing I was gaining weight, knowing I was going to have to get back to it soon, in the middle of the COVID lockdown, being a little bit depressed and just eating junk, and knowing that it was a terrible idea and it feeling like I couldn't change it. And I can, but I wasn't ready to. And I made a video a couple of weeks ago just saying, I don't know why the switch is on, but the switch is back on. And it does feel like that sometimes, that there comes a point where something clicks and then it clicks off, and sometimes it clicks back on. And it's hard. And this is the sympathy I've always had for her. It's not that I don't recognize how hard it is what she's doing. And that's what makes me sad for her as much as I get frustrated.
It's not like I wake up every day, and say, how can I gain weight today? How can I piss my audience off? It's not the...
But then neither do you get up and be like, okay, what can I do today? What can I do today to help myself? How can I avoid falling into this again? And it's not an easy choice, and I've failed in it many times myself, but that's where we are.
It's not the intention at all. Just trying to be real with you guys, and the journey to weight loss is a lot more failures than not.
It definitely is.
Anybody who's lost a lot of weight will tell you that. It's usually fail, 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 fail. Little road of success, fail, 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 fail. Little bit of success, fail, 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 fail. And then one day, boom, you just, it changes.
I mean, there's no boom. And again, I think this is slightly faulty thinking on her part. There is a sense of some days I wake up and it feels easier than other days. That click I was talking about. But there is no boom out of nowhere. I was able to be successful with my weight loss because it was my last chance. When I had surgery, surgery was the ace in the pocket I had been holding for years. Oh, excuse me, small coughing fit. Surgery was the ace in the pocket I was holding on to for years. It was the, if nothing else works, if I really can't do this, if I keep trying, And you gotta remember, I tried dieting for 22 years before I had surgery. And it was the best thing, it was the hardest thing and the best thing I ever did for myself. There is no boom, there is work. And for me, there was surgical intervention and it was scary and it was expensive and I didn't know if it was gonna work. But there is action on your part and you are more in control of that action than you give yourself credit for as you excuse it because of your mental issues.
And you just keep being consistent until, you know, you start getting addicted to that successful feeling. And
you don't get addicted to the successful feeling. And it feels good to do it, it's motivating. But there's no, again, it's either 0 or 100% for her. Even if you get to a point where you really are being successful and consistent, you're still gonna have those moments when you eat the cookie. You really are. It's just recognizing that how you feel not eating it is better than how you feel eating it. And that's a very hard thing to recognize in the moment.
For me, like I said, it's personal for everyone. For me, I don't know really what the issue is. And having so many thousands of different opinions, it gets into my head and I start second guessing myself. And I think that a big part of the problem is probably eating disorders are psychological disorders.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree that I need help with that. First thing I did when I got up today, took a while to do some research.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't successful in finding inpatient care that was covered by my healthcare plan or that was affordable, but I did sign up to be assessed by a psychology team and who does like cognitive behavior therapy, DBT, things like that. They do an assessment with you and they place you with the right type of psychologist.
Okay, that sounds really positive. I'm glad she's done that. However, I have two issues. One, this obsession she has with inpatient care. Well, if it's not inpatient care, I can't help myself. One of the major benefits of having inpatient care would be they would force her to go to therapy. I don't know if she's got this idea that inpatient facilities would be, well, I'll go in and they'll force me to eat the right things and I'll come out skinny and this will be over. Because she does seem to see skinny as a destination and you're done. No, if you want to stay that way, it's constant. It's the rest of your life, whatever you weigh. I'm sure Obese to Beast, even at 180 pounds down, has to make those choices every day to maintain that weight loss. He has to. So I think it's great that she signed up for that therapist. That's a really good, or for that analysis. But at the same time, her problem, she always says there's no help. Actually, there's a ton of help and she's accessed a ton of help. She didn't go back to her therapist because she didn't like the feeling of opening up. So she's had a therapist, she's been assessed and she didn't comply. She didn't go back. Not even to say, okay, after one session, this would be hard to say, but occasionally you have that moment with people where you're like, no, I don't like you. She's never had that conversation when she's saying, I don't think this therapist is working for me, I need to try someone else. She just never gone back. I think separating the idea of, I don't like this person, and that person can be changed, versus I don't like the process of things I have to do when I see this person, which is something she's going to have to do with anyone. And her problem seems to be the latter, not the former. And that's something, if she's going to do therapy and actually address her problems, she's going to have to do with anybody. So it does frustrate me a lot and actually irritate me when she says, well, there's no help. She's had help numerous times. She's had weight loss doctors. She's had plans. She's had professionals that she's chosen to ignore or not be compliant with.
That you need for help. And that's going to be, I have to fill up this assessment, and then I think the earliest appointment was August 10th, which is kind of far away.
Yeah.
But
conveniently very far away. And this is the thing, if she can't do it instantly, she won't do it. And she's made appointments before and then we never hear anything about it because in a month she doesn't want to face it. It just gives her time to rethink and to back off and be like, oh, actually, I don't want to do that. And it's a waste of their resources, but also she could do so much if she was willing to use the tools she's given. But she sees these tools as the magic pill, as the solution. And she's actually physically said, like, oh, well, I went and it didn't work in regards to therapy. In regards to therapy, like, you can achieve much in one session, one initial session of therapy. And it's such a waste because it could be so useful to her. But if someone hands you a tool, you have to be willing to use it. Having the surgery that I had, if I hadn't been willing to eat the way I was supposed to, if I hadn't been willing to do the exercise, if I hadn't been willing to back up that choice with action, the surgery would not have worked for me. It is a tool that you use, not a solution.
So I'm setting up an appointment for that in August, and hopefully I can get regular sessions to help me with that. And
if you go to them,
I'm working with my doctor regarding the nutrition part.
I'm guessing that's the blood test she went for. I mean, we'll see. I'm guessing she couldn't get the results of those yet. They take them and she'll get them later. So we'll see what the doctor says. I'm sure by the time she gets the results, she'll be back to talking about her weight loss on YouTube. So we'll find out what that is later on.
So that's to come. Like, these things are not overnight. These things are not immediate.
No,
and that's another part of, like, I think people expect too much. They expect you to, if they don't see certain steps, they think you're not doing anything, you know?
And that's fair to say. Anything to do with the doctor-based psychological side of things is going to take time for appointments and referrals, and it could be months, especially when it comes to free healthcare. The trade-off of having free healthcare is that the system is frequently overloaded. You have to wait your turn, and you can't just, well, I'm sure if she went privately, which it sounds like she doesn't have the money to do, she could pay to maybe jump that queue. But if you're using free healthcare, it's a queue and you have to wait in it. But making better choices in your food, if you really don't know, and that seemed to be a problem in her video with her tuna salad covered in pickles and cheese and stuff, and then she was like, nothing works, my stomach hurts, with her 3 servings of ranch. You could Google diabetic diet and get a week plan for free immediately. You could make that change immediately. But you like to put it off and be like, well, if I can't do X, then I can't do anything.
Like, well, you should go see a psychologist right now, or you should be eating only green salads and this and that, and just things that are not really realistic and are kind of demanding. And that's just how it...
I don't think eating green salad is unrealistic. I think telling you, hey, don't put 3 portions of ranch, pickles and cheese on it is entirely realistic, and that is something you could do in a second, but you won't.
I feel, you know, yeah, I'm not saying everything I do is right. That's far from it. That's not the point at all. So, you know, I'm sick of that kind of negativity in my comments. People calling me a liar because there are inpatient treatment facilities. They think there are inpatient treatment facilities, and there's not, you know. There are, but not for me specifically. Okay,
so they're not lying in the comments. They're saying there are, and you're saying, okay, I've checked them. It's not viable for me. That is a big difference, yeah.
I've explained that over and over. I am part of, you know, the same person was like, well, it's this program, and I'm a part of that outpatient program, where I have been, you know, already.
Oh yeah, she was saying, but that's what I'm saying though. You were part of that outpatient program, and the doctor gave you a meal plan to follow, and you haven't been compliant with that meal plan. And they did try and get an inpatient, and you weren't an emergency enough case. Like that's fair. If they've only got like 6 beds, they're going to give them to the people who are about to collapse from lack of food. But if you're showing yourself to not be compliant, well, of course they're not going to give you inpatient care. Like, you have to do some of these things for yourself. He gave you a plan, he wanted to work with you. You didn't follow the plan and you didn't go back.
So it's just frustrating, you know? And I just feel like, I don't know if I'm gonna keep the comments off or not. My last video, I turned them off. I was getting overwhelmed with some threads, and I need to pay less attention to the comments. I'm working on that, but I feel like I need to, if I'm gonna do any kind of journey like this on social media,
You just said you weren't doing this journey on social media. I mean, keep the comments off if it will help, but I don't think we're going to be looking at any kind of consistency with that, so it doesn't really matter what you do for a day, but you just said you weren't going to do this on social media.
On my platform where I can control the negativity, that's the least I'm going to do, because, and I'm not saying that's not constructive criticism. This is more shaming, accusing type of comments.
You've been moderating those for years, and your judgment on what is shaming is somewhat flawed, or somewhat sensitive, shall we say. But you've been moderating your comments for years. What makes today different?
And just downright negative, you know, or comments that are not true, you know, constructive criticism like, oh, maybe you should measure this or do this. Or I really appreciate those comments. They're very helpful, some of them. And I don't have an issue with those, you know. But I have an issue with certain ones, and I can't control what goes on around the internet. Like, I know that there's hate forums, people spend their time, their free time. I don't have Twitter at all.
She would be a nightmare on Twitter. Oh, I'm so glad she doesn't have Twitter. Like, her community tab is basically her personal Twitter. Could you imagine if she were actually on it? That would not bode well for her.
And there's probably tons of Twitter accounts that are talking about me, you know,
Probably.
pictures of
She's
me
still
from different
checking
angles, struggling as a fat person, which is completely ridiculous and fat shaming, and says more about the person than it does me. So that doesn't bug me anymore.
It clearly bugs her. She's very bugged at the moment.
You know, I'm fat. That's, you know, I can lose weight, but your problem is an internal one with yourself, and you need to check that. So I don't even have Twitter. So all these people, I don't go on forums. I have a lot of channels blocked that talk negative towards me. So I don't have
That's a good way.
See it.
That is a good way to deal with that. Block what you don't want to hear. She's an adult. She can block what she doesn't want to hear. That's absolutely fine.
Here, I have my DMs turned off, comments on my Instagram turned off. So have fun, knock yourself out. I can't control that.
That's a bit of a mixed message. Have fun, knock yourself out. Okay, cheers. Thank you. I'm here. You know? But I go back and forth with that. I know I go back and forth with it, but she gets to block anything she wants to block. She gets to turn off her comments, but is it gonna help her? No, because she'll never get completely off of YouTube. She'll never take the steps she needs to take, and I want her to, but she's not gonna do it.
But, you know, karma will deal with you one day.
Okay.
But what I can control is my channel, and I'm allowed to, I guess, keep the energy positive, and that will help me, and that will help my other viewers who sometimes message me and say, the negativity is just, can you please filter those comments? It really gets to me. So that's the reasoning for that, okay? It's not the...
Okay, so they say filter the negativity, which I imagine is hard for you to read, but so you filter it. You say, okay, no, I'm going to approve all comments before they go. I'm going to do whatever. But if you switch it off, the positive comments go as well. And I think she wants the positive ones. She enjoys those. So I don't know. I'm not sure which one of these things is going to be better in the context of how she's choosing to move forward with this.
I'm a big baby and I can't handle it. It's that I'm human, and sometimes words hurt and they affect you negatively. So it has nothing to do with being a weak person. It just has to do with being a person, period, with feelings.
That's fair.
And a mission that people are trying to sabotage because that's what they want. That's what the hate watching is all about. You know, they come in, see if you failed, and when you do, even though they're secretly hoping you do, they shame you for it. And that's my problem with having a weight loss journey, is on YouTube. And I'm glad I get to share and express my feelings, on here, because it's happened a lot where I'm afraid to even do these kind of videos because they're usually seen as angry rants.
I mean, you've done them enough. You don't seem afraid to do these. You've done them a fair amount.
And just completely losing it. And I
frequently you do.
That is that this video will get picked apart by several channels. But that's how I feel. You know, I'm just being honest with you guys. That's how I feel.
Okay.
I'm gonna probably turn comments off for this because I'm not really feeling that well mentally today. And if I need a break from that and I need to just shut up the noise, I will just disable my comments. But for the most part, I do want to keep them filtered, but keep a conversation going, but also keep it more positive, you know?
A conversation has more than one participant. You get to make the choice on your channel to stop the conversation. I would argue that if you don't want to be social media is perhaps not the spot for this, but you get to do that, you do. But then it's not a conversation, it's a monologue. So if you're saying, I don't want the comments, I don't want the responses, positive or negative, then knock yourself out. But it's going to affect your bottom line, it's going to affect your views, and it's just going to send people to places where they can talk about this. So you get to make your choices, but consider all the ramifications of it.
Well, like even Obese to Beast says, you don't have to, on his video about Amberlynn, you know, you don't have to insult somebody and call them fat, failure.
And that is true. And people do insult her, but you don't need to. Personally, I think she's problematic. I think she does enough that you can comment on her actions without calling her names, and it can be equally devastating, quite frankly, because she offers us enough without being cruel that it's perfectly possible to look and be like, this doesn't make sense. And that's enough, you know? There's no need to come in and start calling her names. Like, she's got enough problems you can comment on. You don't need to add to them.
All this and that, you know, you can just say something constructive in a nice way. And I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to encourage people to be better people and be conscious of what they're saying, because it's a problem. Online bullying, just negativity online, it affects people, and not everyone's the same, you know? So, okay, so those are my thoughts on the whole thing. Regardless of all that, I'm still gonna share it with you. I'm not gonna go back to mukbangs. So.
You just said you weren't gonna share it with us. How are you gonna share it with us while not sharing it with us?
So I apologize if you're here for that.
I'm not.
For that content, and you need to unsubscribe. I completely understand that. I'm not saying I'm not going to do food-related content, because food is a big part of this. And
food is a big part of this thing that you're not going to share with us. This is why she's going to come back. It's all going to, like, give it a week for the dust to settle. You know, she's going to come back because she doesn't have any variety in her hobbies. Everything is based around food. She needs the channel for money. So if she's cooking on channel, because this is all about food, she's going to start mentioning food. She's going to start mentioning her weight. She's going to start talking about how it's affecting X, Y, and Z. If she's not doing mukbangs, the only other thing she has is her weight. So we are where we are, and it's not going to last.
I will definitely do more cooking videos because a lot of you really liked those. So yeah, so that's about it. I actually feel really good that I got this off my chest and was able to express myself about it. And I think that from now on, whenever I need to express myself about something, I will come on here.
I mean, credit to her. Usually she's a lot more ranty than this, and everything she's saying might not be consistent in the sense of me going, well, are you sharing it or not? Because you're saying you're not, but you're saying you will. But she's not ranting, she's not overly angry, she's trying to consider and stay calm with what she's saying, and I appreciate that.
Here and just give you peace of my mind. So anyway, I guess that's about it for now. So I really, really appreciate you watching me, and I really do appreciate you following my journey, and it really means a lot to me that you're in this with me.
except we're not in this with you because you've just told us we can't comment or be part of that conversation and that you're not going to put it on your channel, but you are. Everything else you're saying indicates you are.
All right, guys, and if you're also on your own journey, I wish you luck.
Thank you. It's not luck, but thank you.
You can always email me.
No, absolutely not.
I'm just taking a break from DMs for now. I just get so many.
That's a terrible invitation to make of people. Like, but don't do that.
I just, yeah, say for a few of my actual like friends and people I talk to regularly. You know, I really, I apologize. I'll probably open them up again. I just sometimes need mental breaks, and that's, you know.
Which is fine.
So,
take a break.
But I think that if you're on a journey and you're in the same boat as me, I do feel like a pressure to not let people down on it. And I think if you can just follow me and accept that I'm human and there will be mistakes, but I'm not going to give up, and I'm not going to go back to mukbangs and eating fast food on camera. So that's that. I know people are expecting that to happen, but it's not going to.
I am expecting that to happen at some point.
All right.
I hope it doesn't, but I am.
We can do this, guys. And I keep thinking of my trip. So
it's still happening.
Let's do it. All right. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.
Okay, she is still freaking terrified about that trip and still not making great choices. She was all over the place in this. I get the point of what she's saying for sure, of just like, I acknowledge I can't handle social media and I need to get off social media. But the answer is not to gag your social media and still post on it. She either needs to stay on or get off. I understand she might need a break. She is a grown adult. She gets to choose to turn her comments off or not. But I don't see her ever progressing offline while still having an element online. And I'm very confused where she stands with the not sharing the weight loss journey versus sharing it, because she seems to be saying I'm not going to share it, but I'm going to be sharing all the elements of my life around it, which her whole life is food. And so she doesn't seem to be planning to cultivate any other interests that might fill her channel. I'm not entirely sure what she was telling us there, other than the fact that comments are hard and I don't want to deal with them right now, which you get to do. This was what it was. Put your thoughts, comments, questions down below, like, subscribe, pleasure talking to you, and I'm going to think about this one for a while. Bye-bye.